When people walk into the yoga studio, they have to take off their shoes, they have to take off their clothes, they sit down on the ground, on the floor, and all of a sudden, like, they're revealed. And everything they might keep hidden or keep, tucked away because they have to just survive, all of a sudden it starts to rise to the surface. Like how you really feel, what you really want, what's your true gift. When you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations, your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new, great, and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties, and talents become alive, and you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. Patanjali.
It's kind of interesting, I think, to try to look at what the actual history of yoga is in terms of what the future of yoga is going to be. And to be honest, there's been a lot of misunderstanding about what the history of yoga is.
For me, when I say yoga, it is uniting the higher self and the smaller self. In the past, there has been a very big gap between the higher self and the lower self.
People would like to be happy. They just can't imagine what the rules might be. They just keep finding that they can't find the rules.
People understand that yoga is a very broad thing. It has a lot to offer to the whole world, and it's not just physical postures that is a part of a lot of people's health routines.
Which means that we have seen God as our God in heaven, the male God who sat in heaven, and we who were the small self were just mere mortals. This has been how we have looked at yoga.
The real tradition of yoga, the way I see it these days, is it's completely innovative. I mean, that's what I feel like the actual history of yoga is. It's been changing, it's been adapting for years.
You don't really need to be a teacher where you're going to have people on the mat and you can be telling them different exercises. You can be teaching them while you're doing their hair. You can be teaching them while you're checking out your groceries. You can be helping people while you're riding in a taxi.
Yoga was always off the mat, and mats were invented in the last century. Before that, yoga was done anywhere, and somebody like Mahatma Gandhi called himself a yogi.
For me, yoga is combining our consciousness of our divine side and our human side in a way not to make us humble followers of a God who is in heaven, but as both humble and proud co-creators of a God who is not only in heaven, but who is walking right by us every step of the way.
We can all talk to each other, we can all be of help to each other, we can each contribute the wisdom that we have, and every person has that wisdom.
Yoga is, at a very basic level, the art of connecting.
So you feel refreshed. So I'm always amazed because I've been doing it for a long time, but a lot of times when I practice, if it feels like a good practice, I constantly come back like, oh wow, this is just really fun. It's inherently just a good thing.
Yoga makes me feel all calm inside. So if something bad happens in the rest of the day, it's harder to make me go up and get mad, so that because of I'm already so calm internally.
It's motivated me to be more present, more in the moment, enjoy nature more.
The strength that I gained from it and just the core fitness, which has been great, that's made a tremendous difference in every aspect of my life.
Kind of encourages you to breathe and be with your body and be in the moment and to connect with your body and your breath.
The best days of yoga are coming now, because I think until now mankind has not been ready to absorb this ancient wisdom in complete, in entirety.
But I think as we look forward and look into the future, all these other dimensions of yoga are also going to come. and they're going to spread across the world.
75 years ago, 80 years ago, yoga was something that was largely confined to remote areas, places like India and Tibet and things like that. And I think now you can say that maybe 30 or more million people in the United States do yoga.
I do think that there's a reason it's become so popular. Because for many years it was kind of very underground. It was something that only like hippies and real freaks would do.
But now our consciousness is expanding, and our consciousness, now that it has expanded to include the divine feminine, we are going to have a shift in the way the yogic teachings are interpreted.
As we move forward, there are many other kinds of practices like mindfulness. I mean, it is an integral part of yoga.
Yoga has really been able to find the place where you can be empty enough so that you can fall into the rhythm that is there in the universe, and it's waiting for all of us.
There's something unique about it in that people, the focus of it is really getting in touch with yourself, getting in touch with your body, finding a certain kind of simplicity in that I think we all really need these days, because the world's changed so fast, and it is changing so fast right now.
As we move on, I think people will kind of include the physical regimen and then move around it or beyond it. And that's what I think the future of yoga is.
We are beginning to discover that we are divine, and we are differently divine. We are not all going to be divine in the same way, which means that unlike before, when we were using yoga as another tool for self-discipline and self-improvement, we are now going to start using yoga as a tool for self-expression.
At the beginning, it's just physical poses sometimes, but actually what is lying there waiting for people is a way to get inside and to get all the way inside.
In more recent years, through my own practice and through the meditations that I am and the self-work that I am doing, I have returned to the old teachings, and I see them in a very, very different light.
Through the process of knowledge is jnana. Through the process of heart is bhakti, and through your actions is karma. If the intention is to connect with all these levels of ourselves and to seek reality, right? We could call it jnana yoga.
You know, it's not nature and the trees necessarily, but doing the asana practice in yoga is kind of a way of getting back in touch with your own nature.
Some people call it zero. Yoga has a word for it also, but it's when you're empty, you're just there.
Karma is the family name. It's the Black Hats school in Tibetan Buddhism based on tantric feminine energy. Sonam means meritorious, and Dorje, thunderbolt. Yoga is yogic understanding of our physical, emotional, mental, spiritual body is key to our advancement as a species, as an ultimate understanding of something other than just this momentary blip on the screen that we refer to as our physical body. I've devoted myself to teaching and to doing instrumentational meditations with sacred sound using the Paiste planetary earth gong. It's the yearly earth gong. This type of experience with which I refer to as the gong bath, is expansive, and it can be it's useful for large numbers of people, both on a physical and mental level. And ultimately, it matches wherever you happen to be energetically, so it can be a spiritual experience.
I see you as the hands and feet of the divine on earth, like you're allowing yourself to be a channel. Do you feel that way?
I don't know. It feels my ego won't accept that. If we can frame it differently and say that we are all expressions of the divine on earth, and we all have our own little jobs to do, then I can get behind that.
So Daniel, tell me about your opinion on yoga for recovery.
I think yoga is a great tool for recovery in the sense that it levels you and grounds you. And you're around, the most important thing I think is you're around other supportive people, a family in a sense, that can help you. You're around healthy, again, supportive people that can lead you on the right path and down the right road.
So you were in a recovery halfway house, and you said you had an opinion about if you were going to create a 12-step program, what you would do or what you wouldn't do.
If I was to create a halfway house or sort of like a 12-step program, the last thing I would do is put 30, 40, 50 recovering addicts all together in the same facility. I just don't think that's a recipe for success. I think it's a recipe for disaster, because if one domino falls, I believe others will follow. It's been proven. I've proven that fact. So I just I would put it around other supportive people, family members, people that know how to deal with addiction, not necessarily addicts.
So like being in like a yoga ashram or a yoga center where everyone's eating clean and meditating and practicing yoga would then help that addict to elevate himself.
Correct. That's very true.
Now we are coming to an age when we are not going to create many followers through yoga, but we are going to create many leaders through yoga.
The kind of current or the force of yoga, whatever that is really bigger than anybody. So I feel like good teachers have a way of, on the one hand, being completely present, but in doing that, they have a way of like letting that get through to everybody in the class or whoever they're teaching somehow. And so it's a little hard to know. It's hard to train people to do that, but that's what we try to do.
The best thing for me to do is just to stay at zero and see what happens. I think one of the things that happens is that when you have a teacher, you learn amazing things because that teacher knows you, and that teacher can kind of guide you and kind of give you a little hint about the way to go in.
Connecting your body to your senses, your body and senses to your mind, body, senses and your mind to your intelligence, the body, senses, mind and intelligence to your pure ego, your identity, and all that to the source of consciousness, which is the witness.
I see that my role is to tell people, to teach people how to fly. In this day and age, teachers like myself and others are not going to have followers tagging on, but we are going to give them knowledge of how they can fly too, so that we can all fly together.
I think it's, in terms of going forward, it's really trying to keep as much in mind as possible.
What I find is that staying at zero and having friends that are staying at zero is that what we're having to sense, and what we do sense, is that that things evolve, that yes, yoga is yoga, and the rules of the universe, the science of the universe, the way the universe fits together, the order of the universe, the stability of the universe is the same. So the basic rules don't change, if you want to say it that way. The basic equation doesn't change. But the ways of approaching it, and the language, and the ways of putting together the portals for people will evolve and change.
As a practitioner, it's important to give any particular practice its due time and due diligence. And each one of us are different.
I think when you find the right teacher, yoga is the easiest and most powerful tool. Now, whether that yoga is Hatha Yoga or whether it is self-awareness or meditation, with the right teacher, yoga is a very, very powerful tool to move from fear to faith.
So with a lot of these practices, it's going to get, I think, in time more grounded and more based on, what feels more like a concrete reality.
But when people taste that space, then it becomes something they'll never forget. And I've had the privilege of tasting that space, and once you taste it, it's better than candy.
That's how yoga is changing, in my opinion. There will always be, your classical asana classes that focus on strength, alignment, and flexibility. But there's this whole new space for people to be free. And that's, Eric Schiffman's Freedom Style Yoga. That's why I like it so much, because he teaches, your basic asana in a very intelligent way, but then he opens up the space for this freeform time where you just move the way the spirit wants to move in your body. And I love that.
Begin to feel a smile deep inside your liver. And allow that smile to expand to the edges of your lips. Opening to the bliss inside of you. So when you untether the body, the soul opens. So untether the jaw, and then reverse your circle and sweep the head around. Get the energy to soften. The energy should be luminous, liquidy. Good. And come to center. Good. Let yourself stay in dog tilt. So arms are extended, body's extended. Your booty is back. Curl your toes under and stretch out your feet. We're going to do this really slowly. We're going to go into downward dog 1. Is expanding outside your body. Your energy field, your aura extends out from you 6 to 9 feet on each side. But when you're fearful, when you're stressed, it chokes in on you, right? The grip of tension grabs you. So, relax, open. Good job. Now roll those shoulders back one at a time. You can open the heart space, and now when the heart space opens, it's authentic. It's the real deal.
are several types, and 2 types are requesting an apology, and the other one is leaving it in the past. Compassion is mainly about the rules to being a truly compassionate person, because if you're not careful, the pain that the person you're trying to help is going through, what can be turned back on you mentally and cause like a state of depression or anxiety, even anger. So the key is to set limits on how supportive you are, so you won't be hurt trying to be helpful.
I started coming here when I was 16 and I had this crazy eating disorder. And people come to me now and they're like, oh, so you're big into yoga, because I'm getting trained as a yoga instructor. Like, the first place I did yoga was Tuesday nights with a group of like preteen and teen girls, and the woman who ran the class would give foot massages afterwards and have tea, and it was always restorative, and it just is the only way to do yoga, I think, where it's just like a big comfy nap in a comfy space where you don't feel judged for not having the right yoga clothing or the yoga pose. And she would play pop music. It was just, I mean, I can't emphasize enough how much it gave me a peace of mind that I totally needed to like conquer my eating disorder and my mental health, and it changed my life.